Hello, my name is Kimberly Cummings, and I will present the life learning paper on alcohol chemical dependency. I'm a faithful believer in Jesus Christ, and I celebrate recovery from 23 years of methamphetamine use and a childhood of trauma. My name is Kimberly. This is a very typical and normal introduction for me and in my day-to-day life, and sets the pace for the concrete experience in which I have in regards to alcohol and chemical dependency. I grew up in a very dysfunctional environment, surrounded by addiction and exposed to severe trauma. As a result of this childhood, I began drinking at the age of 14 and using methamphetamines when I was 16. I continued to use substances and alcohol for the next 23 years of my life until I was arrested in April of 2009. I was facing 10 years in prison, and by the grace of God, I was offered an alternative to that incarceration. I was accepted into the Women in Recovery program, and I spent 5 hours a day, 5 days a week in intensive outpatient, rehabilitative substance and trauma treatment. I also committed to participate in the Christ-centered 12-step recovery program, Celebrate Recovery, and with these two programs, I truly began to understand the reasons behind my alcohol and chemical dependency. I sometimes joke and say that I am an expert in addiction, having dedicated 23 years of my life to the field. I graduated the treatment program, and I have completed several 12-step studies. As I reflect on these experiences with treatment and observe the process in which I have developed, I have come to understand both addiction and recovery on whole new levels. One of the most important discoveries for me is that addiction is a biopsychosocial disease. This means that the biological, genetics, sociological, environment, and psychological, brain and behaviors, are factors that impact the possibility of a person becoming an addict. In my case, the predisposition was astronomical, and the results are what I lived through for 23 years. I also learned that I did not just wake up one day and say, I want to be an addict. I learned the true root causes of why I was using alcohol and chemicals, and this knowledge was staggering and empowering. Some facts around addiction are that the word addict actually dates back to 11 BC and used to describe people whose life was controlled by anything but their own will, thereby making them a slave or addict. In 1992, the government founded and funded an organization called SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Agency. It was formed and began the mission of providing research and support for this devastating disease. SAMHSA's belief was, and it continues to be, that people could be rehabilitated and lives were worth providing the treatment that is needed. On any given day in the state of Oklahoma, some 18,000 people are in need of treatment for alcohol and chemical dependency. Since the early 1980s, Oklahoma has held the highest incarceration rate for women, a whopping 143% higher than national average, and close to 100% of these incarcerations are drug-related. Thankfully, foundations like the George Kaiser Family Foundation and Inasmuch have seen the need for treatment and have both funded alternative rehabilitative programs in Tulsa and Oklahoma County. As for me and the wonderful opportunity that I've been given to be over 4 years clean and sober with a family reunited, I'm an advocate and spokesperson on the topic. I currently have my own business, Addiction Recovery Coaching, where I help families find hope through the process of addiction on the path to recovery. I'm also the Associate Director of Just the Beginning Incorporated, an organization designed to empower women to self-sufficiency through collaborative training for the whole person, including substance use and trauma treatment. I'm also the ministry leader for Celebrate Recovery at Transformation Church Greenwood, and I live and breathe every day for the opportunities that God gives me to be a beacon of light in an otherwise devastatingly dark world of addiction. Documentation to support this paper: Women in Recovery Graduate Certification, Tulsa People article, May 2013, Minister in Training Graduation Certification. Thank you for letting me share.